Did you have to like do a dance or a song or tell a joke when you were a kid to get candy?
What?
Yeah.
Nikki, did every house have you doing like bizarre
Yeah.
performances for them?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh God, I would not have gone trick-or-treating wherever you lived. Welcome back to Two Socks Season 2. We've got some new hosts for you this season. Our first host in this corner is Nikki, weighing in at 72.5 kilograms at 178 meters.
Woohoo! Thank you for welcoming to the show with that fun excitement. All right.
You're
The
welcome.
next host we have is Devin Foster. He's 2 meters, 80 kilograms. In other words, 6'1", 172 pounds. Ultimate Frisbee player. And he's here to talk to us about all the fun stuff he's been up to.
Let's go.
Let's go.
And I don't have any more introductions. Thank you guys for carrying the heavy lifting on that.
We got you, baby.
It was a lot of work.
What do y'all want to talk about? What's our topic for today?
All right, let's just start off with the fall.
Fall. Okay.
All right. Has it been cold up there? Because it's still been 80 degrees down here every day.
I feel like it's been pretty muggy here. Like it's like low 70s, high 60s a lot, but it's been so humid that it feels pretty hot still for this time of year, I think.
Definitely warm for October.
Okay, no, we're not starting our season 2
Talk
premiere
about the
talking
weather.
about the weather.
It's the weather, dude! Bring
We are
it back!
picking
It's
something else.
I
always
like
the
it.
weather, Alex.
I didn't know what to talk about.
I can get right into my sock rankings.
Yeah,
Oh,
do
okay.
it.
All right, so to kick off season 2, and this being the Two Socks podcast, I figured that we'd want to get some good sock content to get us going. Sent out a survey to the hosts as well as Alex to try and get some information back about what they feel and how they feel about socks, but not good socks. We're talking about bad socks today. This is the bad sock power ranking. So we had 7 socks, but only 5 make the power ranking. The first one out, the one that didn't make the list at all, that's going to be old socks. No one was too bullish on old socks, and I would say actually good for you guys. Not seeing age as a bad thing. Just because they're old doesn't make them bad at all. I think that was maybe an oversight.
How long do you guys keep your socks for before you throw them out? Like, I don't know if I ever have like a time frame or they just have holes. So it's like, or they get lost.
Yeah, I think it's a whole thing for me. I don't really like holes in my socks, so if they start to develop holes, they gotta go.
Yeah, be careful. We don't want to spoil too much of the list. But yeah, if the dryer eats one, that might. But really, I think it all depends on the sock, because I have some real good pair of socks that I've had for 4 or 5 years, and then I've had socks that a couple of months went by, and I was like, I need to get rid of these. So that was old socks. Moving on, this is the honorable mention. That'd be loose socks.
Because loose socks could give you blisters.
Oh.
All right, so now to start off the list, at number 5 for the worst socks power ranking, it's going to be Stinky Socks.
Ugh.
Stinky or smelly socks. Yeah,
Ew.
this one was pretty unanimous. Most people had it in the 4 to 5 range. Not real much debate here. No one really likes a stinky sock. That being said, 4 ahead of it, so we got some more socks to go.
Stinky. Yeah, I mean, what did you ever have like your dog steal your socks when you were a kid?
My dogs steal my socks now, today.
Oh, okay. So is it any particular? I feel like they like stinky, sweaty ones more than clean ones.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with your scent, because like the dog will eat flip-flops and socks. But if I went out and bought a new pair of flip-flops, I'm like, all right, dog, you can have this one all to yourself. But she doesn't like it. She wants the ones I wear.
You bought your dog flip-flops? You're literally training them to eat shoes.
Well, I figured if she's going to eat flip flops, might as well eat a pair that aren't
Yeah.
that I'm not wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, dogs don't understand that. Now they're like, oh, these are okay, so those are okay.
No, they're the decoy flip flops, Nikki.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I'm saying. Yeah.
that dog still wants the stinky ones because they like that extra salty flavor.
This is the logical. Yeah, my hypothesis was she likes flip flops. I'll buy a pair of flip flops. But then through
Aw.
the experiment, I realized she doesn't like the flip flops. She likes me. She likes my.
Aw. It's kind of a cute ending to your story.
And with that, we'll move on to number 4 in the bad socks power ranking. This is going to be too short socks. Too short. So not quite tall enough, too short.
Blister City.
Yeah, I guess this more kind of leans into the my thinking of those no-show socks that were loose.
Yeah.
If you just have them too short and they don't get up in the first place, that's going to be a struggle. So for
Yeah,
this,
No shows are underrated. I don't get the hate for no shows.
well, you have to get a good pair of no-shows because it's a gamble. You
Yeah.
could, if you put on no-shows and they're a little bit too short, or
Yep.
the backside falls off the heel, that's going to ruin your day. So you really have
That's
to
true.
invest. You have to invest in a good pair of no-shows. We had let's see here. So Schabel put too short real high on his list, whereas Fry literally put it as last, as it's not even bad at all.
I love my no shows.
Yeah,
Summary.
I feel like, so it's funny that you brought up the no-shows, right? Because I feel like the no-shows, if they were too short, would be basically unusable. Like they're like just not even on your heel at that point in my mind. Like you already
Yeah.
picked the smallest of the small. Like I was assuming they were maybe like ankle height and they're like halfway down your ankle and you're like, like this just feels like wrong. Like they're just really not fitting. Cause
Yeah,
like, I
but-
mean, if it's a crew sock, it can't really be too short unless the fit was just like weird.
They're just shorter socks. What's your beef with short socks?
Yeah, but we're saying they're too short. So that's my point is like you took too short as no-shows, which like I'm saying, I think you have to pick a style of the sock and then say that sock is too short. So if you picked no-show and said no-show is too short, it basically just wouldn't even stay. Like it's just not even on your heel at that point, right?
Yeah, what Chris
Okay.
is saying. What Chris is saying is that the no-shows are too short by design. They're not.
Well,
They're not necessarily going. They're not.
As
If
opposed
they're
to
shorter
what?
than
Like wearing down?
They fall off your
Your
heel.
socks don't like shrink over time and like the thread. Is that what you're talking about?
no.
They just don't fit right.
yeah, like they're too small was how I
Yeah.
interpreted this.
Yes.
Then just
Yeah, 'cause,
don't buy them.
I'm assuming I already have them though for some reason.
Yeah, I agree with Chris.
Yeah.
I interpret it as Chris interpreted it.
Yeah, for me, there was really two schools of thought. The one would be like you have a crew sock, but you know that part that slips into your heel, it's usually colored differently. Imagine that like only going like into the arc of your foot. That would be too short. That's just not a good fit. The heel doesn't get the support it needs, and so ultimately the sock is too short. Even though it's a crew sock and it still, has decent length, ultimately it is too short. And then if you have a no-show sock or an ankle sock that's too short, that's not good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, not to really delve more into this topic, but I feel like
No,
the
please.
world, I just feel like the world that Alex was in of like, well, then just don't buy the sock. Like, yeah, I mean, I'd also prefer not to like wear a stinky sock or something, but I feel like the assumption here is like you're like being offered like a pair of socks from somebody like else and they're basically like like unfortunately this is all I have, and it's like in this situation what is like the most unfortunate way someone could lend you a sock, and like in my mind them being too short or too small as I interpreted it would be like pretty unfortunate. Probably more so than the scent. Like if they fit well but didn't smell ideal, assuming they weren't like absolutely ratchet, like that would probably be okay.
I mean, you can buy smelly socks, though.
I mean, okay, but once again, why would I purposely do that? I'd be like, no, I'm gonna buy the not smelly pair.
That's
Like,
your fetish.
well,
Chris's
okay.
fetish.
Hang
It
on.
is Chris's fetish. Yep.
Oh boy.
You can
Dude.
buy stinky clothing online.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah,
I've watched documentaries on this where people wear their socks and their underwear for like 7 days straight and sell them for like $1,000.
Yeah, the
People want to
Chris.
buy my used anything.
Not you.
Yeah.
Usually it's females, but you
Right,
never
that's
know
the
what you'll get.
problem. I would sell. I'm not particularly interested in buying.
Yeah, same. I actually
you just
tried
need
to do
find your
that
clientele. You just got to figure out.
once.
Yeah.
I tried to do that one time. I didn't get to the part where I wore it, but like I made like the pictures and I set them up in like this really artsy thing. And then I realized you had to pay to use the site. And I'm like, oh, that's dumb. So then I didn't do it.
I wonder.
Just got to do self-advertising. Don't use the site.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
get on. I need to get on Craigslist with that.
Yeah,
Is
you're
that
only
where it is? Craigslist?
I don't. I
There's
feel like
a special site for it, but
Can you not sell things on OnlyFans? I feel like that's always the joke.
oh, OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
We'll have an episode where Nikki makes an OnlyFans.
Oh, or an episode where I sell my dirty socks or underwear.
use bath water.
Yeah.
Big money in
Used
used
bath
bath water.
water. That's hilarious. Is there?
Yeah.
There was.
I have heard that, unfortunately.
Oh my god. That's
Nikki's
sick.
like, I'm gonna make so much money on things that I don't want.
I would love to. Like, I know this one girl who does chatterbait, and like I told her I owned a camper, and she's like, "You don't know how much money you can do if you did this in the camper." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks."
All right. I think we're ready to move on to the next one.
All right.
All right. So following up 2 short socks in the number 3 spot, we have holy socks.
Hmm.
Not religious holy socks. I'm talking about whole socks. Socks with holes.
Socks with holes, people.
That's only number 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fry had this as his number 1.
Yeah, because then they're trash.
And
Well-
then Nikki had this towards the back end.
Nikki thought they were religious socks. She's like, no, we got to give them their time in the sun.
No, my thought was like, what's a hole or two?
See, like once again, I think I probably took this to the extreme where I'm like, I don't like this sock anymore. Like if it's got like a little hole like in the ankle or something where I'm not gonna notice it, it's like, yeah, that's fine. But if like the entire ball of my foot is coming through the sock, it's like, all right, like this is probably time for retirement. So I think I assumed like they're pretty beat at this point, but
Uh,
There's nothing worse than like stepping on a cold hardwood floor in the morning with like a hole in your sock.
so like I'll save the surprise for what I put as number 1, but I think the worst option on here is still worse than that. But yes, I agree with you, Alex. That's not great.
My thought is when you see that you have a small hole in your sock, it instantly becomes a holy sock, and the chances of that hole getting smaller over time is basically 0. It's only gonna get bigger. With that, I'll move on to the runner-up, the second spot on the bad sock power rankings. It's going to be dirty socks.
dirty.
Most people were again pretty unanimous on this one, but Shabel had it towards the middle of the list, where Nikki really had this higher on her list.
Yeah, I was trying to remember my list. I was like, did I put holy as 2? I feel like maybe I did. I'm gonna have to double check. Yeah, I'm like assuming that there's like some like dry dirt situation on there, not that it's like an active like mud situation, because I feel like that would be way worse.
I thought you just meant socks that didn't go through the laundry yet.
Yeah, or just being worn multiple times over. You know, that's that's bad on its own right. But yeah, to actually have dirt on your socks, especially if they're visible and you're going somewhere, it's a bad
All
look.
right. Drum roll.
The top pick.
Fry, put the drum roll in post. So right now there's this glorious drum roll that we can't hear. The number one worst sock on the Bad Sock Power Rankings for season 2 is Wet Socks. Yeah, this one, Shabel and Nikki had this as their number 1. Fry's is number 2.
Wait, Fry, what'd you have as worse?
I think I had holy socks.
Yeah, he had Holy Socks worse.
Oh man,
I
you
just-
really hate
okay.
Holy Sock.
I do because it's funny. I'm actually wearing a pair of holy socks right now, but regardless, they're just annoying. And usually, if they're not my favorite pair, they're going in the trash. With like wet socks, if I'm walking like and I step in a puddle, or like
Oh, that's the worst, dude.
or that's like they're coming off for sure. I'm taking them off. Like my shoes will still be wet, but I'm just gonna be barefoot, like wet in my shoes. The socks are coming off, and I'm like just gonna bring the socks home. I throw them in the washer.
He makes 2 good points here, because the first one being, I would even argue what's worse is if you're like in your house and you're like getting ready to leave and you're getting all dressed and you put your socks on and then you walk near the fridge and maybe there's like a rogue ice cube that fell out of the freezer the night before and then your sock gets wet.
Yeah.
And then it feels like you have to start your whole day over. You have to go back, take off your socks, put new ones on. But to his point, he's going to take the socks off if they get wet, which really kind of leads me into my point of you could look at this whole power ranking as like a temporary state. Like wet socks, that's temporary. The socks will eventually dry. Same thing with
Exactly.
like dirty, you can wash them. Stinky, you could probably wash them unless they're really stinky. That stinks in them. But like socks that are too short, they're never gonna get too tall. Socks that are holy socks, they're never gonna be unholed. Like that's not temporary. That's forever. So
Right.
So to play devil advocate for Fry, yeah, that's why you got to put holy over wet, because wet will dry, but holy will not unhole.
100%. Wet is temporary. Holes are forever.
This is so interesting to me though, because like like in my mind, you've solidified why wet should be number 1, because the fact that like I feel like we all agree, like if your socks are wet, they are not going to essentially serve the purpose of socks anymore, because that is an unusable state. Means in my mind that like that is the worst. Like you will not even continue with them in that state. Whereas Alex has said already today he's actively chosen to wear a sock with a hole on it that he's not even taken off yet.
All right, that's only because they're comfy and they're warm, and it's a cold day. And listen, so I don't give up on wet socks.
He's a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite.
No, I don't give up on wet socks. I give up on them maybe for the day.
Well,
but
so
I wash them, and
also,
then I wear them again.
I feel like this also comes back to me though, of like I'm assuming in this scenario that like someone's giving me these socks, because in all of these situations, like they're not socks that I would ever choose to have, or that if this was my option, I'd probably choose a different pair, I'd buy new pairs or whatever. So like I'm assuming that somebody gave me this pair of socks, and the situation where somebody, because like normally if I'm changing my socks in the first place, the most likely case is that they did get wet, probably, or they were wet, and that's like why I would want a different pair of socks. And in that situation, imagine somebody handing you a fresh pair of wet socks. You'd just be like, absolutely not. Like you would not put the socks on. You just be like, no. So like they still, in my mind, are like the absolute number 1. Like that, no one would actively choose to wear wet socks. Like that's not going to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only argument against that is
Alex is a hypocrite.
That being said, I personally definitely wet socks number 1, easy. I can't believe Fry the psycho put him as number 2.
I just think it's hilarious that Alex told us he's wearing the socks that he
Hey,
thinks are the
there's
worst.
one
Whereas,
tiny hole in them.
okay.
Relax.
I bet Fry's thinking like, why'd I even ever say that?
Yeah, I am now
If I
because
didn't,
Chris has
if I
brought it
didn't
up
say
3
that,
times.
Squabble would have never had any ammunition.
People are gonna start to think that our content sucks. Don't keep that.
No, I like it. I like it. Keep it.
No, dude.
We should probably talk about Halloween specifically on the episode that comes out before Halloween.
That would,
I like that.
that would make sense.
Agree.
Because I would like to talk about trick or treating.
Oh yeah, let's talk. Why can't we talk about that today?
I don't know if y'all have an interest in rollerblading, but Ben's been trying to convince us to get a group of people to go rollerblading. And the only reason that was kind of relevant, I guess, is because like trick or treating with rollerblades would probably be pretty quick.
That'd be good.
Also, trick or treating when we're 30. I don't know about that.
Okay. There's
I didn't-
never an age limit to trick or treating.
I think there
But
is.
there should be.
It keeps the kids off the street.
Yeah, but we're not kids.
Okay, I didn't mean myself. I wouldn't go trick or treating. But you know, like if a 30-year-old came up to my door and they wanted some chocolate, fine. You know what? Don't care. As long as you like, want to do a dance or participate. Like did you have to like do a dance or a song or tell a joke when you were a kid to get candy?
What?
Yeah.
Nikki, did every house have you doing like bizarre
Yeah.
performances for them?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh god, I would not have gone trick or treating wherever you lived.
Yeah. In my hometown, like you had to tell a joke or do like a song or a dance. Like, yes, every single house you had to do like something.
Where did you live?
Maybe
Like
do
High School Musical universe?
Yeah, we would all chime in and sing like Halloween songs for our neighbors at like whenever we went trick or treating. They'd be like, "Well, do you have anything for us?" And then you'd have to do something.
houses I went to, the bare minimum was I had to say trick or treat. Because once I was getting older, I was like, trick or treat. And they're like, come on, like you mean it. I'd be like, trick or treat. I didn't realize this at the time when I was in middle school, but Halloween was my favorite holiday. There was something I really liked about getting the free candy, and like I used that situation to its fullest advantage. Like I would in math class, like earlier that day, I remember I like sketch out the neighborhood and like and I like plan my path on the quickest route to get to certain houses. And yeah, it was me and my neighbor Graham. We would go trick or treating, and we would scout out like the block, and we would see like, all right, who's leaving the bowls out with the candy, and like skip those houses obviously, but like get them on the way back if we like did like a cross pattern, depending on how the block was. And I was also curious what your guys' feelings were when you saw that bowl of candy. I mean, I feel like there was some kids that would just dump the whole bowl into their bag, but that didn't.
100%.
But that didn't seem fair, and especially as someone that was going to be doing a lot of trick or treating, like that was never me. But like, I feel like the rule was always +2, whatever they said.
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
2.
Wait. Oh no, I would just take what it said.
Well, if it says take one and it's a bowl full of candy, I mean, like,
I would take one.
yeah, no, I'd probably take 3.
I
I think that's fair. If you're gonna leave an entire bowl out of candy, like, I mean, it's really hard for me to resist.
See,
Devin.
I wouldn't even think twice to not do what it says.
The only exception is the one house we went to like had full size chocolate bars, and they said take one. And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, I'll just take the one. Like, I'm not taking more than one full size.
Yeah, the people who would give like the king sized like candy bars, it was like, wow, you guys are living large.
I remember
Never
there's
had
this
that.
house that I went one year because it's like a grandma, and she it took a long time. She was slow, the poor lady, but she gave me like 7 pennies,
Aw.
which was like a sweet gesture. But like I was like, okay, mark it down. Not going to this house next year. Like took valuable time and got no candy.
I remember there was one house in the adjacent neighborhood that gave out Jello shots to the adults, and I always told myself
Nice.
I wanted to go back when I was 21, and I never did. Because I mean, I feel like by the time you're that age, you're like at parties and stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, obviously
You
that's
can
not
make your
the
own Jello shots if you really have a craving.
They're
That's
not
true
going to
too.
card everybody.
I mean, okay,
You should have gone
we're
when you were
really just
20.
breaking all the rules, I guess. I don't know. I kind of side with Nikki on this one, where it's like, yeah, if I knew I wasn't supposed to have it, I wasn't gonna be like, hey, Mister, I'm like 5'4" and in middle school. Can I have a Jello shot?
And he'd be like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is the best holiday.
I like trick or treating so much that I would plan out my route that I would take, and then I would plan it that I got back to my house like after about 2 hours, so I could exchange bags because I knew the one bag would get full of candy, and
Oh
so then
my God.
I'd move on to my second bag, and then I'd go back out until as late as allowed to go, and
Oh,
then
wow.
once it got dark out and I was done trick or treating, I got back to the house, and then what I started doing
What
towards
time did you start? Once it got dark out, you're supposed to do it in the dark.
Oh, no. When I got back from school, it was if I was in my costume, then I was ready to go. You know, no time's a wasting. Or like I had to get into my costume, and then I was going. What held me up is that I have to take pictures, you know, with the neighbors and stuff, because my parents would be like, "Oh, I'll take some pictures." I had younger siblings too, so it was a big deal for them. But yeah,
So,
so I would start right away in the daylight.
Wow.
Devin, did you trick or treat for like 6 hours? I'm imagining you getting home like somewhere around 4 o'clock and being at it till like 8 or 9.
Yeah. I was gonna say like 3:30 to 9:30 probably.
Oh my
My
God.
God.
But like there'd be some time in between to either exchange bags or like one, or sometimes like I would get in the car and we would drive to a different like block near my grandma's house or something. But yeah, either way, it was an all day affair. It was like I said, I had to exchange bags, and then it wasn't done there. Once I was done trick or treating, I'd go home, and then I would dump out all my candy and get a big box of Ziploc bags, and I would organize all the candy by the different candy types. Like I'd put all the
Yeah.
Hershey bars in one bag, all the Reese's in one bag.
I did that too.
Yeah, and then so I'd organize it all into Ziploc bags, and then put them back in the bag, and then my day was over.
What
I
is
didn't
the
do it
point
in
of that?
Ziplocs, but because then you can make trades like easier. Like, oh, here, like I like Kit Kats more than Twix. You want to trade this for that? That's like with my sister.
That's certainly a valid reason to do it. It's also just to easily identify, like if you're in the mood for a Reese's, like you can easily find that
You don't have
bag
to
and pull it out.
dig.
Yeah. The other thing is so you can keep track of your candy. If your dad was stealing some or your younger brother was taking some, you knew like, hey, I had 13 Reese's in this Ziploc bag earlier today. How come there's only 11 now?
My mom would only let me have my candy for like a day, and then she'd donate it at the hospital.
I was
That's
gonna
nice.
ask how long Devin's candy lasted. Like, did you have candy till like next year?
Yeah, definitely until at least January.
What?
The candy that I didn't like the Almond Joys.
That's the best. But what? You
Well, at
had
the time.
candy till the next year?
Yeah, until January maybe. Well, I think what I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, it would depend. But off that point though, my mom, like after seeing me be a crazy person and do all this trick or treating for 6 hours and organize my candy, she's like, like I could buy you candy if you wanted it.
and
And I
what
was like,
did you say to
no,
that?
that's not the point. That's like, I was like, that's not the fun of it. Like all this candy is free. You would have to spend $3 on a bag of candy, and I got 18 bags right here.
Have a holly jolly trick or treat!
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.